Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Haas Talks presented by Performance Electronics. Haas Talks studio is live and in color right now, coming to you from Bob's Turn 5 at Port City Raceway. Great racing season is in full swing, everybody. I don't know about you, but I've liked what I've seen across the board, from sprint car racing to late model racing and everything in between. It has been fantastic. Hey, in one of the first episodes that I did, I said, we're going to have different people on the show. We're going to have anything from drivers and crews to wives to track officials to announcers. And so in this episode, I had the chance to finally meet and chit-chat with Tony Laporta. Now, Tony Laporta is the new national announcer for USAC on their Flow broadcast. So Tony is the one that's sitting in a van. It's not down by a river, but it's usually behind the stand somewhere, and he's calling the shots as the videographer is bringing them down to the van. So he's calling things from a screen, keeping up with notes, checking in on your tweets and everything else. But I figured, I've seen a lot of different things about Tony, a lot of comments, whether they be negative or positive, and I feel like Tony's doing a great job for his experience. I know that he doesn't come from dirt track racing, and I know how hard it is to be a dirt track racing announcer, whether it be on just a broadcast or, live over the PA to race fans everywhere. Something that I wanted to know from you all, though, it's a two-part question. One, who else do you want to see on Haas Talks? So help me out with some folks that you want me to get on the show. And number two, whenever it comes back to announcing, who is your go-to voice? Whether it be me or Brian Holbert, Blake Anderson, Johnny Gibson, Brian Ward, there's so many great announcers out there. But I want to know who your favorite is. I want to know who kind of grinds your gears. What really gets you going? What do you like? And what's something that you dislike that we as announcers do? I know I probably do a lot of stuff that people don't like. But hey, at any rate, right after the break, we're going to have Tony Laporta on Haas Talks.
Performance Electronics, custom electronic solutions. From design to manufacturing, let us put your ideas in motion and become your company's full-service electronics manufacturing experts. Performance Electronics.
Welcome back to the show, guys. Haas Talks, and like I said before, Tony Laporta, the new voice of the FloRacing broadcast for the USAC Racing Series, all of it, man. You get to do it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed to get to go around and do the National Midget Tour, the National Sprint Car Tour, and the National Silver Crown Tour. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate.
Pretty outstanding deal for real. A lot of dirt track fans have voiced their opinion. They have made comments and everything else, and you and I both know that this isn't an easy task, but what a lot of race fans don't realize is just that it's not easy, and this isn't your first to go at putting a microphone in your face and talking. You have an extensive background whenever it comes to racing and broadcasting and announcing. Yeah,
at least I try to think so, man. I appreciate it, Haas, and I got to tell you, what you do is really impressive here, and the role that you play, not just as an announcer, but in everyday life here at Port City. You guys have a great facility here, so I want to get that out of the way before I go on about myself. You can tell when a track and the staff care about what they're doing, and you guys and Shane and everybody that's involved in this place, you can clearly tell cares.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's great where – from our position where we travel around, I mean, we have 107 races a year between Silver Crown, Sprint Car, Midgets, and we go to some holes, man. And I know I'm not supposed to say that, but then we get to go to some really cool places, and this is one of them. So I know on behalf of the USAC staff, who is just used to going and going and going, to get to come to a nice place like this, it's really it's a great change. So thanks for all the work you guys do. I've been announcing for over 10 years now, and just started out as doing karting in Colorado, where I grew up. I wanted to race. I thought I was going to be the next Tony Stewart, the next, Levi Jones, the next Shane Stewart, and I grew up to look like this. And you find out real quick, the guys of our carriage and our status don't go the driving route too often, and never shut up and bugged the race director. And finally, he just gives me the microphone and says, leave me alone and go up and call this race. And, man, I can't believe the places I've gotten to go, from starting out calling shifter carts in Colorado 10, 11 years ago to sitting here. And that's not being funny. That's not being sarcastic. getting to do these national tours is a dream come true for me. So, everything from IMSA Public Address to IndyCar Pit Lane reporting for IndyCar Radio, and then the Road to Indy TV program for 4 years. So, yeah, I'm not new to holding a microphone, but what I am new to, and you hit on it, is nowhere have I ever announced has there been a fan base as passionate, not even close to as passionate as the folks that buy a ticket or subscribe to FloRacing in the dirt racing world. And, we'll talk about it, but man, getting on Facebook some nights or getting on Twitter and seeing people blowing you up isn't great. Although, they make up this much of my inbox.
Right. I
really do have to say that for the dirt racing crowd, the fans, the spectators, the people that aren't involved in the actual racing, most of them have been great to me. Yes, that is the part of the fence where I'm getting some blowback. The pit side of the fence, the drivers, the teams, the car owners, the families, nobody on the pit side has been anything but incredible to me. Hey, we get you're new. Come in, ask any questions, do whatever you want. But on the other side of the pit fence are the spectators, the fans. And while there is that 10, 15% of them that aren't a fan of mine, which not everyone's going to be, no matter what the percentage is, if it's 5, 10, 15, whatever, it's nice to be announcing something where the fans care so much. They're going to complain or have their opinion about the racing. They're going to have their opinion about everything up to the announcer. So, again, doing the stuff that I've done where, I'm a PA voice at some races like Daytona and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, fans don't care. Your background noise at a certain point, what I've done. But to come here and to have a fan base be so passionate about what I'm saying that they're willing to voice their opinion, good or bad, at the end of the day, I really can't be upset about it because silence is the worst thing in the world.
Right.
If you do what we do. When nobody has any opinion on you, that's really not good.
That's whenever you got to get scared and worry.
Well, it's like, Dale Sr. had some quote, and I'm not going to get it totally right, but he said, when they're booing you in the stands, it means you're doing something right, and that's the drivers. We, as announcers, don't really want to get booed too often, but at least it means people are listening.
Right.
And so, I don't love the social media hate, but I'll take it, man, because these people love their sport.
So whenever you got started announcing, you're doing the karts and everything else, when did you first experience dirt track racing as a whole? This is something that you've been trying to do. You've been trying to work it out with Kevin and Levi and the guys for a few years now.
Yep.
We talked about before we hit record. When was it, though, that you were like, man, this dirt track stuff is kind of cool?
Man, so I grew up in Colorado, which is not, it's not a motorsports hotbed
Right.
by any means, and I grew up introduced to NASCAR and Tony Stewart, right? So I was a Stewart fan from the word go. And, you do your research. I read his autobiography probably 7 or 8 times over the course of, my middle school years. Seriously, the book has tape holding it together these days. And everybody knows Tony's background. The first ever USAC Triple Crown champion to do it in the same year. Mm-hmm. The guy, did the entire Road to Indy back when the Road to Indy was on dirt ovals, the way that I think it still should be. So I grew up enamored with Stewart. Still, when I thought I was going to be a driver, I thought that's the route. So I paid attention and I knew about dirt. But in Colorado, there's maybe 1 or 2 dirt tracks. So it was all pavement. It was pavement road courses if you were going karting. So really quick, my focus shifted to things like IndyCar and NASCAR road course racing because I grew up having to turn left and right. So, whatever, new dirt, new USAC, knew all that was out there. And then I got my job with Road to Indy TV the season of 2016, and I was spending a lot of time bouncing between Indianapolis, and at the time I was living in Oregon because the Road to Indy job didn't pay anything my first year. So a family of friends up in Oregon said, hey, listen, you're not making any money. Come live with us. They own a go-kart track. They said, you can work for us. Come up here, we won't charge you rent, and you can just fly off every weekend wherever you need. But anyway, I'm bouncing between Oregon and Indianapolis, and I was staying with a really good friend, Chris Wheeler, in Indianapolis, who is a spotter. He ran the Bell Racing Helmets program in Indy for a long time.
Good dude, real good dude.
Oh, Wheeler's a great dude. We can't be around each other too long because we're too much alike, but he's a great dude, and he's one of those guys like you are here in Oklahoma. Chris in Indiana knows everybody in racing, right? So would just come and hang out with them, and when there wasn't a Road to Indy / IndyCar race, he'd go, hey, get in the truck, we're going over to Justin Grant's shop on Gasoline Alley, or hey, get in the car, we're going to go to Terre Haute tonight, or whatever. And just to make a long story just a tick longer, it was when I was in Indianapolis for the first event in the month of May. It was the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Road to Indy guys were racing on the road course. IndyCar was racing on the road course. When that event was over, Chris said, skip your flight home. I've got something for you to do. Well, USAC was sanctioning a go-kart race in the infield of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They had asked Chris to announce because just like you and me, he's good at a lot of stuff, and announcing is one of them. And he said, I don't want to do this. You announce it. And so I stayed for 2 days in Indianapolis, and I called the the University of Purdue electronic E-Prix. So it was electronic go-karts that their engineering students built and raced them on this little kidney bean, tenth of a mile, plastic barrier covered track in the parking lot of the infield of the Speedway. And USAC was sanctioning it. Jason Smith was the race director, and Kevin Miller, the president of USAC, was there, and Levi Jones, who runs all the dirt stuff, was there. And when the weekend was over, I turned around, and they were both, they both had smiles to their ears. And they said, listen, our guy Dylan Welch, who was the USAC announcer for a long time, who's gone on to he was with MRN, still with MRN, and now he's pit lane for NBC. They said, Dylan's leaving at the end of the year, and I don't want to make a fishtail here and make a big story, but they said, we want you. Well, I was involved with Road to Indy, and I had a contract with those guys, and then the following offseason, IMSA. So I'd met USAC, and I'd met Levi, I'd met Kevin, and they had expressed interest, but then for the next 5 years, we kept passing each other. And when they'd have an opening, I'd have a contract, and when I'd need work, they didn't need me. So knew about Kevin, knew about Levi, and moved to Indiana at the end of 2017, and was just hanging out with dirt guys, hanging out at Justin Grant's shop, hanging out with Kevin Thomas Jr., going everywhere with these guys and Chris, and just living that life, but not going to the races. Right. So that's where it's hard when I step into this new role and I go to a place and people go, oh, do you remember what happened here in 2013? And I'm like, well, no, I don't. I can tell you what Justin Grant's really good at making for dinner because I've been over there, but I can't tell you what he did, at Terre Haute in summer of 2014. So just hung out with those guys and became friends with all of them before I ever really went to their races and started taking notes. So I know that's a long answer. I'm sorry.
No. I like long answers because it keeps me from talking, and my viewers like it because it keeps me from talking. So whenever your first dirt track race that you announced, was that at Florida?
No. And a lot of people thought it was. And there's, again, all kinds of there was a wing, it would be an outlaw kart race they held, and I couldn't even tell you the track. It was some little tiny dirt oval that USAC, nobody goes to in Indiana. I genuinely don't remember. I'm not trying to duck saying the name of the track. I don't remember. And then just another crazy thing that happens to you when you announce races for a living. I'm in Florida back in 2016 calling one of my major karting series that I was employed by at the time. And ironically enough, we were in Ocala, Florida at the Ocala Grand Prix, which is a go-kart track that has produced Oliver Askew and IndyCar, tons of big names. They literally just shut down this past week, ironically. But we were announcing racing in Ocala. End of the day, Saturday, a couple of the tech guys go, hey, we're going to go to a dirt track. Are you coming? And I'm like, absolutely. I never get to go. I want to go. I'm thinking they're going to Bubba because we were there at the same time of year. Bubba's in town racing USAC, and I'm thinking this is going to be perfect. Let's go check out the USAC cars at Bubba. Well, they didn't go to Bubba. They ended up going to this little tiny, it looks like an outlaw kart track, micro sprint track, and they're joking with the track owners and going, hey, we got this big professional announcer in the van. Do y'all have a microphone and PA system? And the track owners go, well, actually, our announcer's sick tonight. If your guy wants to get up there and try it, he can go for it. And didn't know what I was doing, didn't know anything, didn't know any of the drivers. This was way before Race Monitor or anything. So I walked into their shack / scoring tower / medical unit / concession stand. And I'm looking around and I'm going, okay, do you guys at least have MyLaps? Do you have orbits? Do you have electronic timing on a computer? And they go, we got an entry list. And I'm like, that'll do. So got up there and called. They had 4 classes. Again, couldn't even remember what they were. You guys have 600cc micros here. They probably had 431cc, 3.5, valve. Who knows what they were? And got up there, screwed around, just had fun, honestly. And went down on the track, did feature winner interviews. and then had to bail at midnight because we were back on the track with the go-karts at 7:30 in the morning for the last race of the winter season. So called 8 hours of karting Saturday, went and called a few hours of dirt track racing that night, and then got up and called the season finale of the kart series. So that was my whole big foray into dirt racing before I decided to take on the national announcer's position for USAC.
What's the biggest transition from karting and road course stuff into dirt track oval, where it's just come and get it?
Yeah.
You know, it's a totally different style of racing for an announcer. I mean,
Yeah.
I know even going from like micros to sprint cars and midgets to karts and stuff on dirt, it's a different style. It's a different group of people that you're talking to. What's been the biggest like challenge for you to kind of hone in on the skill of dirt track racing?
Well, coming from the stuff that I did play-by-play for karting for 5 or 6 years, and then the road to Indy thing, I wasn't doing the play-by-play. IMSA, I was only doing the pre-race and post-race ceremony, so I was never calling action. And then right around 2017, I got a chance to go do the play-by-play for Mazda's MX-5 Cup Series, and that was the only play-by-play I was really doing right before USAC. But over there were no sponsors. There were no big when you get an entry list at a dirt track, whether it's your guys' local weekly show or whether it's the Chili Bowl, you get an entry list and you got the name, you got the number, you got the driver's name, and then you have a page width's worth of stuff. I would definitely say, and this was where it all fell apart for me in Ocala the first night of the midgets. I sat down. And I'd practiced heat races. I'd literally gone to the shop in Brownsburg, Indiana, with Devin, my producer, and Levi, and we practiced calling some heat races just to get the timing down and just to get that pace and that intensity. And, you know, Levi will tell you, oh, he sounded great. But I never practiced qualifying. And I had never in my life called single car qualifying in anything. Karting, MX5, anything on a road course is traditionally group qualifying, where they either send groups out or they send everybody out, and you have 2, 8, 10, whatever the time allotment is, and there's a dozen cars on track. I had never done the single car 2-lap qualifying, and that is where everything came undone in Ocala. Was I tried to do what you hear every short track PA guy in the world do, which is, you know, he can look out the window and rattles off, you know, up next it's the number 4 Top Motorsports NOS Energy Drink sponsored, you know, Stanton powered Chevy or Stanton Chevy powered Spike chassis from my own California, Justin Grant, and they just rattle it. Well, I wanted to do that, but I've got this entry list that our guy Richie Murray gives me, and it is top to bottom, side to side, chock full of information. So first car goes out at Ocala, and I'm okay, it's car 08, and I'm looking at 08. Okay, and the 08 from there, with this on the side, with this under the hood, driving from it's so-and-so. Well, by the time I'm done doing all that, I look up and their laps are already done. So in Ocala, I quit announcing. I started just trying to get through the entry list, and I'm reading. And that's why when everybody got on Twitter after qualifying was over, the first thing I see is, man, this guy sounds like he doesn't even want to be there. And genuinely, I can't get mad at anybody who said that, because I literally quit announcing. I took all inflection, I took all intensity, I took all action out of the call. And I literally, I mean, it's like I'm reading these notes right here to you. And people don't want to hear that. People would literally rather just see the car go around or hear just ambient noise. So the amount of information just to do with a car and a driver, never have had anything like that in karting, in MX5, in IMSA, in IndyCar, in anything. And fans want to hear it. They want to hear it every time. The fans out there could tell you with their eyes closed the sponsors, the engine, the chassis, and they know all of it, but they want to hear it. That, to me, fitting that Johnny Gibson style every night, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to hear it over and over and over and over again. That, to me, was something that I didn't even see coming, and it hit me at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that you aren't on track. You aren't in a booth overlooking the track. You're in the van.
Yeah.
You've got your computer screens, and you've got the different angles, and you've got your producer, Devin, sitting next to you trying to maybe help you out and point out a few things here and there. But it's not – that, to me, would be a challenging part.
Well, what's funny is, and again, this you bring up a great point, Haas, is what you're talking about is one of the things that, okay, once people found out that I wasn't in the PA booth, because a lot of people came out in Ocala and they're like, they just assumed I'm in the PA booth, because why wouldn't you? Every announcer in the world is in the PA booth. So people assumed immediately I'm up there, and then they go, well, this guy's missing this, and this guy's missing that. Well, then once people found out I was in the van, then it kind of shifted to the anger didn't go away. It just went to, well, why is he in a van?
Yeah.
And the heat got a little bit off of me and just more to the situation. And again, it goes to show you that you could paint the broadcast in gold, and someone would still complain about how much it weighs. The van is unique, and it only comes down to the fact of the last couple announcers that USAC has had have all wanted different things. I'm filling in, or not filling in, I've taken Rob Klepper's position. Rob's a great guy, and that's one of the things I have to clear up. And I don't know if it's people wanting it or people thinking it's there. Klepper and I have no beef. I just moved into a job that he had made vacant. I don't know why the position is vacant. I don't know if it was Rob not wanting to come back. I don't know. I can assure you it had nothing to do with USAC being unhappy. Rob's a great announcer, and he's a really good dude. I'd known Rob. I'd hung out with Rob way before me even becoming an option was on the table. So if anything comes out of this, I hope people will understand, and Rob himself will understand, I got no issues with the guy. He has no issues with me that I know of, and I'm just getting to do a job I've always wanted that he used to do. But Klepper has done MAV TV, and he kind of transitioned the USAC broadcast into the van. And there's a lot of good things about being in that van. Namely, when you're in Terre Haute in the summer and it's 98 degrees outside and that van is dark, air-conditioned, and cool, not a bad place to be. But it is really hard to call a race from sometimes because you said Devin.
You're limited to how many spots you can see and how much you really see.
Like you were saying, Devin helps me kind of see stuff, but really he can't, because all we can call and all I can see, the only world that exists to me outside of that van is what our top cameraman shows. If our top cameraman has a heart attack and the camera points straight up at the sky, that's all I see.
Right.
So people go, well, he's in the PA booth. He should have seen that battle for the transfer. As much as I would have loved to have seen that battle for the transfer, if our cameraman decides that the battle for the lead is more important, and this is where, there's arguments and there's some harsh words said after a heat race, the top cameraman in a lot of dirt racing broadcasts is the director of the show.
Yeah.
What he decides to show is what the announcer has to talk about, and I get it. In a heat race, the transfer battle means way more than the battle for the lead. Who cares if you win the heat? It's about who got in and who didn't.
Right.
But I can promise you this, and you'll relate to this. Fine, if we decide to show this on the top camera, and I'm up in the booth, say, and I'm talking about this, but the top camera showing that, then everybody on Twitter freaks out because they go, why is he talking about what we can't see?
Right.
So until the technology gets invented where we can show absolutely every single thing that happens on track at once, and announcers like us are able to talk about every single thing, you can't win. Because if the camera's showing the transfer and I'm talking about it, well, you're not even showing the lead. And what's going on up there? Well, the second we go to the lead, we talk about that. Well,
what about the transfer? Where's the transfer?
And so it's I'm at the mercy of the top camera guy. And we are working every week at USAC to change that. We're going to get a comms system developed where by hopefully the beginning of May, I will be out of the van. I will be in the PA booth. And then that way, me and Devin, who will stay in the van, have a bit of control to direct the top cameraman to say, hey, we need to move to the transfer. Hey, we need to stay on the lead. And then I get to be up top and kind of decide what should be shown.
Find all the battles and everything else.
The van is great, and I don't want to say that it's a bad thing. And through MX5 and IndyCar, I'd been used to calling stuff at those IndyCar races in a broadcast trailer that's 400 yards from the track. You can't see out of any windows if there are windows, and it's all through a monitor. But the difference is at an IndyCar race, you've got 18 cameras. You've got 20 cameras. At a dirt track, you have got one camera, and you have to talk about what that top camera is showing. So the van has been a big point of contention this year. Do we keep it? Do we keep Tony in the van rather? Do we move him out? So, I can't tell people how frustrating that has been this year.
It's just about building it to fit your style and find that need for that niche that fits your talents, what you want to do. Me personally, I like being outside because then again, you're able to see everything and you're able to point at hey, get off the leader and look at these guys back here throwing bombs at each other.
And in karting, that's what I did. I mean, I stood on top of, these are new sandals, but, I had sandals that had holes burned in through the bottom of them and heat blisters on my feet because I was karting in the deserts of Grand Junction, Colorado one summer, and for 3 days in a row, it was a national touring event. I stood up on top of an ambulance in the first corner, and I would just call it on the PA, which we did a live stream radio style version of. But yeah, I'm just like you. I'm used to being outside, hearing it, seeing it, being able to talk to people as they walk by me or underneath me. So to be as removed as we are from the van, in the van, that's hard when it comes to calling the race. But here's another thing that maybe you're not even thinking of is you get in that van and the door closes, and then maybe the first time I get out is when the feature's over, and you get back outside and you go, oh my God, we're at a dirt track. This is awesome. And I didn't smell any of it.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any of it. I love this racing because of all of it. Yeah. Not just because I get to sit into a van and watch it.
Right.
I got out of the van in Lawrenceburg last weekend after the third round of the sprint car series, and I got out and I go, this sucks. Like, I can't smell it. I can't feel it. It was a little brisk in the air. I couldn't, feel that. And so the van's great at times, but boy, it's literally like if someone said, hey, you can watch your favorite sport in the world, but you will be in a small box. It'll be dark. You won't smell it. You won't taste it. You won't hear it. And you're just going to have visuals of it. You wouldn't do that every time.
Yeah.
When you can't make it to the race, flow is great. But, man, being tucked away in there is difficult.
So we're here for the T-Town Midget Showdown.
Yeah.
You got your first witness at Port City Raceway as far as cars on the track yesterday. What are your first thoughts of just the racing, and what are you expecting as we roll off night number one here?
I didn't watch the whole race last year on Flow, but through making highlight packages with Devin and the Flow guys and just by watching replays, last year they did a 3-wide salute on the parade lap because they didn't think they could go 4 wide here. Well, and then they go 4 wide under green flag conditions for the lead. And that, to me, says everything you need to know. They can't go 4 wide on the pace lap because they're scared of banging wheels and tearing up equipment, which obviously I would agree with. I agree with Spridge and Levi and Shane and anybody involved in that decision. But then the drivers go, no, we're going to make 4 wide work, and we're going to do it for the most important spot on the track. That, to me, says everything you need to know about Port City. It looks too small to work, but it works beautifully. And we rolled in here yesterday morning over in turns 3 and 4 by where the T-shirt kind of mezzanine area is, and I just turned the corner. I walked up through those bleachers y'all got in 4, and I just stood there. And I said, man, I'm in love. And I literally took a picture of it, tweeted it, and it's over 100 likes right now. It's like my most popular tweet. The place is awesome. I mean, I love bull rings. Don't get me wrong. When we go to Terre Haute with the sprint cars, or Eldora is badass. But, man, I love these bull rings. When, as a driver, you're always doing something, and you can relate as an announcer. You're always doing something. Mm-hmm. This job is fun when you're busy, when you're thinking. And just like a driver, you never get a break here at this track. So I dig the place. Hot laps last night were cool, but everybody kept their distance. I'm ready to line these guys up. 2-lap single-car qualifying is going to be nuts because everything's going to be separated by this damn much. But then when you throw the green flag on heats, a semi and an A,
right,
dude, I'm like you. I get real vocal. I get real amped up, which also gets subdued sometimes by being in that van because you feel like you can't stand up and scream when you're in a shoebox. Yeah. But I am just so stoked to get this thing going because the track looks like it races beautifully. The facility is so cool. This, to me, is what racing is about. Not who has the biggest hauler, not who has the biggest motorhome. It's about tiny joints like this where you just better cowboy up and go out and do it.
So outside of racing, what is Tony into? I mean, are you
drinking too much?
Drinking too much. Are you a sports guy at all? Are you get into sports? Or are you just revolving around racing like myself? Or?
Racing's my life, absolutely. And when I went to college, I did public address announcing for all the sports, the NCAA sports we had. I've done PA for baseball, for basketball. I even announced rodeos. Again, growing up in Colorado, rodeos, a pretty big part of our lives. And I'll go catch a rodeo. I've announced them. But yeah, I love sports. It's ironic. My younger brother, he's 6 years younger than me, never ever saw it coming. 2 years ago, he calls me and says, hey, I'm announcing for my local radio station. And he does play-by-play for everything up in Minnesota where he goes to school. And he does prep sports on the local AM radio affiliate.
How cool is that?
Exactly. And so we never saw it coming, and I never pushed him into it. I wasn't a little league dad like, you better announce. I want a family of announcers. And so it's cool. He's a baseball player, and he takes that love for sports to announcing himself. And I love it. I mean, I'll go to I'll go to football, baseball, basketball, anything, hockey games. I'm a sports guy.
As long as they're serving beer.
Man, yeah, that. And I'll tell you what, this place, Bob's Turn 5, was kicking last night. The old boy who was wearing a red staff shirt, I'm sure parking trailers all day, knew how to mix up a whiskey pretty good.
Yeah.
And but the other thing I really lose all my time and way too much of my money into is fly fishing. I love being outside. I'm a huge outdoorsman. We stopped on our drive here from Indianapolis and hit the original Bass Pro Shops in Springfield, Missouri. I could have stayed there all night. I mean, I was literally like, do I show up late to Tulsa, which I don't want to do, or do we leave now, which I don't want to do? But yeah, over COVID last summer when we had all this time not traveling, I got way too deep into fly fishing, and that's where all my debt is currently consolidated right now, is buying 9-foot-long fishing rods and little tiny things that look like bugs. So if I'm not racing, if I'm not drinking, I'm probably fly fishing somewhere. That's my big vice right now.
So just real quick, back up to the racing. You don't only just announce the races. You're part of the production crew of setting up and producing quality content for the broadcast. And how do you juggle all of that? How do you come up with the ideas to be fresh and outside the box? I mean, are you sitting with a pen and pad all the time, jotting down notes? Are you watching TV shows from the 80s going, man, that'd be cool if, like the speed dating deal that you did was pretty cool at down in Florida?
Yeah, people love that. And that's the funny thing too. Again, when you talked about the dirt racing fans letting me hear it on Twitter, like, they're passionate. And the speed dating was something that everybody agreed on. Everybody loved that. No matter what they thought of me and my commentary, they loved the speed dating thing. And I've had people, we were at Lawrenceburg last week, and I had 2 different gentlemen in the pits come up to me. They weren't affiliated with race teams or anything. They just came up to me and they said, hey, they shake me and they go, I want to let you know. One guy goes, I wanted to let you know, you were not very good in Florida. And I'm like, well, thanks for coming. And he goes, but you're getting a lot better. And I said, well, thanks. And then another guy goes, hey, I want to apologize. I was giving you a lot of crap on social media, but I'll tell you what, you've come a long way. And so that was cool to hear. And that guy, I asked him, I said, what do you want to see more of in these broadcasts and these shows? Because to me, I want the Flow broadcasts to be a show. I flash back to being a kid watching NASCAR in 2004, 2005, and knowing when I turned on the TV, if it was in the spring, you were going to hear, Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip on Fox, and if it was the summer, you were going to hear Bill Weber, Benny Parsons, Wally Dallenbach, and you were in for a show. I want to get USAC Racing on Flow to where it's a show. But the content ideas, to answer your question, I got to spend 4 years at Road to Indy TV, which is the TV, even though it's not on TV, it's on YouTube, affiliate of the Road to Indy ladder system. And here's what I learned there. Here's my personal belief, and they'll get mad at me when they hear me say this. Road to Indy racing is not exciting. It's a bunch of rich kids in underpowered, way too aerodynamically dependent road course cars. Nobody likes that. It's not entertaining. Nobody wakes up on Monday and goes, yeah, the Indianapolis 500 happened, but who won that F2000? Nobody cares. So what we at Road to Indy TV realized was we can't make it about the racing. Nobody's going to care. No matter what we put into it, we have to make it about the drivers. Why should you, Haas, care about this 16-year-old? Well, we're going to show you that he's into 3 of the big things you're also into in your life, whatever that is. We're going to show you that this kid plays the guitar, goes surfing, or is a mechanical engineering student in hopes that other kids out there see this and go, oh, I love the guitar. I like to surf. I'm a mechanical engineer. Oh, and they also race? Okay, we've got our hooks in them. Maybe they'll be a fan of the racing now. So we did really creative, out-of-the-box, funny, original content to showcase the drivers' personalities at Road to Indy because that was the only way we were going to get fans. It's totally different here in sprint car and midget racing. The racing is so good, in theory, USAC doesn't need to promote its drivers to be successful. At the end of the day, people are going to buy Justin Grant t-shirts. They're going to buy KT t-shirts, Cannon McIntosh, Taylor Reimer, Jason McDougall t-shirts are going to sell just by what those guys and girls do on the track.
Right.
But I look at it and go, look at the life Justin Grant and these 20 or like these late 20, early 30-somethings that race sprint cars and midgets. They aren't flying into a racetrack that their mom and dad paid for them to have a seat into a race car, and they're going to go out there and they're going to run for 5 minutes, and then they're going to get back in their motorhome. And that's the road course world. Here, the drivers are the stars, in my opinion. So the original content is me going, We literally need to shine a light on these kids, these drivers, these men, these women, and however we can do that. The speed dating, I just thought about it. I'm the new USAC guy. I need to get to know 40-some drivers.
Yeah.
How are we going to do that quickly? Let's speed date with them. I'm working on a piece right now where we have a partner at USAC Dirt Draft. It's an online, fantasy, sports fantasy game where you pick your lineup and you win points. Well, we went around and we had the drivers pick their fantasy lineup, but they can't be involved in it. So sometimes you look at it and you go, it's so on the nose. People shouldn't laugh. But because these drivers are cool people, they're folks that have a 9-to-5 job, just like you and I, or the people watching at home. Their 9-to-5 job is just driving a race car, but it's not just driving it. It's building them. It's working on them. It's maintaining them. It's transporting them to and from the track. People who are working 9-to-5s at home, paying to watch Flo, want to be a part of the lives of these race car drivers. So that's where the content comes from, because I think the racing is so good, we don't need to sell it. You don't need an announcer for USAC Sprint Car Midget. I could turn off my mic and the racing's going to be just fine. You don't need me to sell it. Let's put our drivers out there and get people to get to know them more, because they're incredible people, I think.
Absolutely. So 107 races this year. What is your, rolling down the road, what's your go-to music that you're listening to?
Devin Berkeley is my producer, and he's my lifesaver, because I wish I had two Devin Berkeleys, one to keep in the van and one to put in my pocket and go everywhere with, because the guy's just phenomenal. He drives the Flo van, and I usually ride with him to the races from Indianapolis. He lives in Brownsburg. I live in Speedway, so we're always going down the road together. He's like, I don't want to say like a heavy metal screamo dude, but he's got a lot of rock on. He's got a lot of like Tom Petty. He's more of that, I don't want to call it like stoner rock and roll, but, just like way more intense stuff than I'm into. I'm into two good kinds of music, country and Western. And I'm a huge Texas country guy. Last night the band was down here. What was their name?
South of Vertical.
Man, I'll tell you what, they rocked. They were really good. And they did a Cody Jinks cover. And Cody Jinks is a Texas country guy. It sounds like you know him. Texas country, Cody Jinks, Co Wetzel, Casey Donnie, those guys are my life, man. I get down on Texas country if I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm drinking, if I'm fishing, whatever. So Texas country, and then I'll do the normal top 40 rock, the top 40 pop stuff. Right. But country music is my go-to.
What's the go-to beverage that's non-alcoholic that you're sipping on while up and down the road?
I keep watching myself on video this weekend, because we're filming all these segments, and I keep realizing, like, God, you have to get in the gym, because I drink soda. Like, I drink Coca-Cola like it's going out of style. Like, I have a can right over there, and the fact that I haven't opened it yet is like such a testament to my willpower right now. I don't even know who I am. I drink Coke like it's going out of style. And despite their wacky politics, despite how bad it is for you, despite it's this much sugar in a can, I can't stop drinking it. I try to drink a lot of water to make up for it,
right?
But that's like saying, oh, I'm going to get a lot of sleep to make up for all the heroin I do.
It just doesn't work.
I drink way too much soda, so whether I'm putting Jack in it or whether I'm putting ice in it, man, Coke is just I don't even know how many I drank yesterday. Way too many. So I'm trying to quit Coca-Cola, but I probably never will.
Are you a snack guy? Do you snack a lot?
Clearly, Haas. Do you think you'll look like this
so
naturally?
What's your go-to snack?
Jesus.
I mean, that's a full figure. I mean, it's not bad.
Anything that's not moving quicker than me is my go-to snack. When COVID hit, I had to get a real job, because my only source of income is announcing. So when COVID hit back in the spring, I also quit going to the gym because the gyms were closed. So that's a little bit more of why I look like this. But I had to get a real job, and when you drop out of college to be an announcer and nobody wants to hire a guy without a degree, you become a 27-year-old pizza delivery guy. And it's not glamorous, and it shouldn't sound glamorous, because it's not. You're working with a bunch of 17-year-olds, and they're like, you're old. And I'm like, yeah. I got a job at Papa John's, because that's my favorite big chain pizza place. And I ate a lot of Papa John's this past spring, like way too much Papa John's. Man, I'll do anything. I'm just like everybody else in this country. I ate way too many cheeseburgers. Devin and I hit every Love's up and down the interstate going from race to race, so I'm a big connoisseur of Love's truck stop hot dogs. I love a good truck stop hot dog. We stopped at the Quick Trip here yesterday morning, coming in right out here on the main road coming into the track, and they had these pre-made, pre-wrapped pork and like chicken and brisket tacos.
Yeah, pretty
man,
good.
I knocked those back.
Dude.
Did I regret it a little bit later on? Yeah. But shit, they were good. So, man, I eat anything. I'm not a healthy person.
So as far as your introduction to people, I feel like after this, a lot of my dirt track people and dirt track people in general should have a better understanding and knowledge of Tony Laporta.
I hope.
But like, if you were to finish this sentence, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. How would you finish this sentence? Tony Laporta is
grateful. I mean, not to get overbearing here. I know I've already taken up so much of your time, and this is probably the most a guest has talked on your show, which I apologize for.
No, I like it. I like it.
Not to get overbearing here, but you know, I'm a Christian. I'm not a great Christian. I'm not even a very good Christian, but I try to be one. And I think a big key in life is being grateful in anything. I love my dad to death, but he's not very grateful about a lot of things, and he's angry all the time. And I think if you can keep a grateful heart in anything you do, you're going to go a lot farther than the guy who isn't grateful. And also, if you keep a grateful heart, good things will happen to you. At least I hope, and I think will happen. So, man, I lost Mazda, I lost Road to Indy at the end of last year, and then I decided to remove myself from IMSA to make the commitment to Levi and Kevin for 107 nights this year. I could be delivering pizzas in Indianapolis right now. I could be living in my 300 square foot apartment, not doing anything, trying to make up enough money to get a Flow account to watch the racing this weekend. But instead, I'm here, and I'm getting to do it. I'm getting to hang out with people like you. I'm getting to hang out with people like Shane Stewart and Brady Bacon and Levi Jones at the party last night. And I'm going to, hopefully, if the weather holds out, get to be a part of some badass racing. And it's not fun to get on Facebook. It's not fun to get on Twitter and hear people say the new guy's garbage. Did they get this guy from the bargain bin? That stuff is hard. But I can't be grateful and then let that bring me down. So I would say, at the risk of already getting way too deep, which I just did, man, Tony Laporta is grateful because I love this job. I love USAC racing. I love dirt track racing. I love Port City. I love T-Town. And, man, I love where I'm at right now. And I'm super grateful to Levi and Kevin and everybody getting me here.
So for the people that haven't bashed you on Facebook or Twitter because they haven't found your account, how can they find you on social media to say, hey man, that was awesome on Haas Talks. I understand where you're coming from. Hey, you're doing a great job. Hey, it's Kawita. Hey, it's Muskogee.
Yeah, man. And you know what? And you know, Lonnie Wheatley is a really good dude, and he just reached out and was like, "Hey, it's this," and he spelled it phonetically. And I do want to say
that's how I have to do a lot of last names and everything. People like,
no doubt.
That's not how you spell it. No, that's how I say it.
Right. I'll go up and I'll be like, "What's your last name?" Okay, now can you say that for me the way you say it? And then I'll start spelling it, and they go, "No," and I go, "No, it's not for anybody to read. It's for me to say." And I just want to get this out there. Yeah, the loudest voices are always the negative ones, right? And our own thoughts will always capitalize and keep big the negative.
Right.
But there have been so many people on Twitter who I don't know, who I've never met. There are people I'll never meet on Twitter, Facebook, who have defended me vehemently. Now, most of the people that have actually every person I've had, you know, I don't know if I can swear, shit talk me. I've never met any of those people. I just want to meet them. I just want to shake their hand and go, hey, listen, I get it. It's not great, but I'm getting better. But I've had. Again, if the percentage of Flow subscribers and USAC fans is even 10%, which that might be big, don't like me, the other 90 have been not just in my support, but vocally in my support. And the coolest part of that 90% has been the drivers, the wives, the team owners, the crew guys who have been like, chill out, everybody. Like, yeah. I've had people back me privately, and then the drivers go on Twitter publicly and back me. So I don't want this to turn into the feel bad for TLP. Not everybody hates me, but it is human nature to remember the negative, and the loudest voices be the bad ones. But if you have an opinion of me and you'd like to share it with me publicly, which, what a great world do we live in, where today you can let your favorite politician, your favorite actor, your actress know what you think of them, and it'll go directly to their pocket thanks to Twitter. I am so the little @ sign, TLP_voice. That's my Twitter. That's my Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but I don't accept friend requests from people I don't know. But everything is just @TLP_voice, and that's how people can keep in touch with me. And I love when people check in while we're racing. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you're doing. I love it. Whether you like me or whether you don't, tell me what you think, and support USAC Racing is all I ask.
Absolutely. Guys, Tony Laporta, check him out on FloRacing. I mean, where else can you get a good guy like this?